Three-man booth, NFL Conference Championship week. I'm in Salem with Phil. Bud is on vacation still. But we got bigger news to fry, right, Phil? We got a coaching search hot in the New York Giants. They hired their GM since we last spoke, and now they've got two Bryans to pick between.
Yeah, and the coaching GM, as we were speaking before, came from Buffalo. Did a good job picking Josh Allen, and he worked out. And from everything I heard the last couple of days is that Daniel Jones is going to be the guy next year, whether that's, something with nobody in the draft, or they really see something and he was dealt a bad hand. We all agree the offensive line sucks. It sucked for a while. So if they're going to take those first two picks and use them on offensive linemen, I mean, that's the quickest way to turn the team around.
Or a lineman and another star rookie receiver. I mean,
right.
It's a good decision in my opinion because there's not a home run hit on a quarterback in the draft. So they could take a later round guy and take a flyer. I mean, they got a lot of picks. And why sink so much money in free agency, especially your first year in GM? That's a bad move. You got to evaluate the talent you have, which they've already overpaid for. So
I actually don't even know who's available, to be quite honest with you.
Well, that's another good question. I mean, there's these big names, like technically Rodgers and Wilson are probably available, and Watson.
Well, both have to be via trade, though. They're not going to be free agents.
Right. But they've been available. And then, I mean, I'm sure Sam Darnold's available, but he's not a better choice than Daniel Jones.
No, not at all.
And Jones is still reasonably, I mean, he's inexpensive this season. So it's a really good business decision.
Well, so the Giants have till May 10th-ish to decide whether they're going to pick up his fifth-year option.
You know, they might just do it to give him the confidence for the season. They can still cut him, but
yes, that's true.
It'd be a nice I stand in your corner move to make him feel like he's got the team behind him instead of he's playing for the job. I don't know if he'd buckle or not.
Because the alternative to that is you don't pick up his option. He plays well, which we all hope he does. Then you have to franchise tag him, which is going to cost you a lot more.
Right, and then the odds of him living up to that are not high because we already know the cycle that happens to teams all the time, which is why the Jets traded Darnold, which then or swindled the Panthers into paying for him, I should say.
Swindled is great. Somehow Matt Rule still has a job there. I don't know if he had a hand in dealing with him, or dealing for him, but man.
We mentioned the Giants' vacancy. They're choosing between two Bryans. One is the OC in Buffalo. Obviously, the connection with the GM is huge, and the Josh Allen success is huge. And the other is Flores, who technically had really good success in the Dolphins with a bad quarterback, because we were both agreed to as not much of anything to speak of. Do you have a preference? I mean,
you probably can't go wrong. You're right. Flores did a really good job with what he was handed in Miami, and they started off 1-7, 0-7, then they reeled off 7 in a row.
Yeah,
so he did a pretty good job there.
And they had to play the Patriots and the Bills, so it's not like it was an easy decision.
Right, but if we're gonna go with the high upside, and we talk about what a great job they did with Josh Allen, the GM and the OC from Buffalo. I mean, that's probably ceiling.
It makes you wonder what happens to the Bills next year. So they got their head coach and defensive coordinator, but they got no GM or OC. So
I think they're pretty well established. I think they're leaving that team in good hands.
Good hands. I agree. I think it's a tough decision because Flores definitely overachieved with the Dolphins, and he did a lot of great things with their defense. And the Giants have fallen short on defense they were kind of on the cusp of being a great defense, but they didn't have anybody to really push them that way. They have so many offensive weapons that have not materialized. They want to bring Barkley back to greatness. So getting an offensive coach kind of jives with that philosophy. If they don't go with the offensive coach in Brian number 1, do they keep all of these overpaid offensive weapons around? I don't know. Do they?
Well, so as it pertains to Barkley, and I heard something today, and I kind of agree with it. And I tried to dismiss it last year, and they said all these players, especially running backs that come back from torn ACLs, don't do very well the year they come back. And we see it time. We all think they're going to be Adrian Peterson, right? They're going to jump out of the gate and be great. It takes a year, right? So Barkley's return to what he can be should be next, in 2022. A great comparison is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook hurt his knee. He came back that next year, wasn't great, and then look, he's like the top running back in the league again. So it does happen.
Now, what about Galladay? You keep him around because it's sunk cost, and you hope he gets something more out of him.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you paid so much for him. You might, you know, you're not going to cut him because it's probably more expensive to cut him. And he's too good. I mean, he was in a bad situation. The offense sucked. They couldn't get the ball. Daniel Jones got hurt. Mike Lennon's, not anything out of him. It was just a dumpster fire this year.
My feeling on him is that he got hurt though, so it makes
true. You're right.
And if he can't stay healthy, he's not going to be worth it. I mean, I'm not sure anyone would trade for him, but it's not a bad deal for the Giants to try to dump that cost. I mean, the GM depends on how much he wants to rebuild, I suppose. And then is Shepard still under contract? Because he's always been a good player. He's just coming.
He is, but he hurt his Achilles the last game of the season.
Yeah. So we don't know how quickly he'll recover either.
I don't know if that's a full blown, like a Kevin Durant Achilles tear, or a mild Keenan Allen type who he came back pretty quick.
And are you still high on Tony?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Tony will be good. I promise.
Yeah, I mean, these offensive weapons made me think they should hire an offensive head coach, but then Flores speaks for himself because he did just a really good job with us. I think the Dolphins are just going to be terrible. I think they're going to be awful this coming season without him. The other teams that hired, so Denver hired, the Bears already hired, Jacksonville stole Byron Leftwich, which was a great hire. So the Saints need a coach, the Dolphins need a coach, and the Raiders need a coach, but they're interviewing Josh McDaniels, which if they don't lock him up, I think the Saints probably will steal him, which would be a nice place for him to land, I think.
What an interesting situation that New Orleans one is. Sean Payton stepping down. You're leaving the next guy with an empty cupboard. You're leaving him with Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I mean, they need a draft or trade for a QB. I mean, they have some playmakers and a decent defense, but Peyton had them overachieving, I think.
And I thought I saw something that they're in salary cap hell too. I didn't read the article, but the headline was they're not picking up anybody off the street. Let's put it that way. This is what the Rams are going to be in like a year or two. Is they're going to be?
Yep.
This is exactly what's going to happen to the Rams.
It's a great.
If they win the Super Bowl this year, if they win the Super Bowl, it's all worth it. If they don't win the Super Bowl, they're in a lot of trouble.
And let's segue into our picks because I know that you're picking the Rams. You put money behind that pick. I'm picking the Rams to beat the 49ers.
It's right here.
Right there.
Super Bowl champion.
Phil's going to throw us a party here on the 3-man booth. The whole party will be in his house. And we'll just virtual celebrate.
I'll get a little bottle of champagne and drink it as we're talking. I'm seeing Rams 3.5. I'll lay that all day.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, the 49ers are a great story. They're an excellent team. I mean, Bud really thought they would be good last year, and they fell short. And then he avoided picking them this season, and they overachieved. Garoppolo hasn't scored a touchdown in several weeks. They're winning on their defensive running game. LA's too good, I think.
They made that game closer than it should have been against Tampa Bay. They were trying to lose it. Those two costly turnovers at the end were not helping. Yeah. They should have won that game by 14 going away.
Yeah, it was a blowout until right Tom Brady time hit with like 10 minutes to go. And it was
Tom Brady time assisted by an interception and a fumble. So
yes.
It was Tom Brady time sort of because he was gifted two turnovers.
Phil, it was 20-3, and I knew that game was going to be tied before it was said and done. I just knew he was going to bring it all the way back. I didn't think that they were going to pull it off. I'm happy the Rams won, but I just knew he would do it. He just has that silly mojo going for him. So the other team that I think has a similar mojo right now are the Bengals. I think they're going to take down the Chiefs. They'll at least cover the 5.5. Is it 5.5 now? Or
I'm seeing 7. I'm seeing 7.5 right now.
Oh, 7.5. Yeah, that's why I'm taking them. They're absolutely covering 7.5. Kansas City is doing great things, but their defense could not slow down Buffalo for a lick. I really like Cincinnati's defense. I like the running game. I think that they could slow the game down and keep it close and be in a position to win at the end.
I'm going with Bengals and the points, but Chiefs to win the game.
Oh, okay. So we got the same picks here then. But
I do think the Bengals can keep it close. They have the offensive, firepower to keep up. But man, Kansas City just does whatever they want. Whenever they want to do it now. It's incredible. I mean, we saw the greatest weekend of football in our lives last weekend. It was unbelievable.
I wasn't surprised that they tied.
No, I wasn't surprised either.
Because there was a complete lack of defense in the fourth quarter, which was
those defenses were so gassed.
I know.
If Buffalo won the coin toss, they'd be in the AFC Championship game right now. Both those defenses were done.
Yeah, I guess that's right. They were just too tired to stop the offensive fireworks. Which brings me to an interesting point. Do you think they should change the overtime rule?
I mean, that's going to be the debate for the entire offseason.
I really don't. I mean, the game ended. Both teams tied, right? So, okay, we got to play a little extra time. Flip a coin, see who gets it first. You score, you win, you go home. I mean, I don't have any problem with that. It's overtime, right? It's extra time. I don't feel like you need to make overtime even or fair. I feel like it's perfectly fine. You tweaked it so that the field goal doesn't win it. But if they score a touchdown, I mean, whatever.
I was saying the other day, if they were going to change the rule to have both teams touch the ball once, they would have changed it after the Patriots did it in the Super Bowl to Atlanta. That's what would have made the change, but they didn't. So they're not going to make I don't think they're going to make the change here, even though everyone's going to say they should. Play defense, and you won't lose the game on a touchdown.
Yeah, seriously. Just because I don't want to end the show without mentioning them, Jets. I don't have anything to say on the Jets. they're not interested right now. So. You got anything else to add before we wrap it up? We made our picks, and I'm hoping for Brian in New York for the Giants.
Yeah, we'll have a Super Bowl conversation next week.